Welcome here to Birds Huddle, presented by Toyota, the official automotive partner of the NFL, alongside very hyped Barrett Brooks and Dave Zangaro, who is excited, but more on the inside. I'm Amy Fiddle. Eagles are less than 27 hours away from kicking things off as far as their Super Bowl title defense goes against those Dallas Cowboys. Tomorrow night, it begins year 5 for Super Bowl MVP Jalen Hurts. Earlier this week, Jalen Hurts was asked how he has grown to this point in his career. Let's take a listen.
You know, it's just like equity. I think that's a great word that comes in time in anything. You know, you let it sit there, you saturate, you learn, and you do grow and you evolve as a person. So I think that's been a natural maturation for me. I've always spoke about how experience is the biggest teacher. I've said that since I was a rookie when I didn't have the experience as a pro quarterback, and now the experience has definitely added up. And there's still more out there to go do and accomplish ultimately. It's just about being a student. You know, I've had all these coaches every single year, and I've been able to take so much from each one. And those are the things that I lean on as a player.
And that is our Up to the Challenge, brought to you by First Trust Bank. And he has been up to the challenge. We are also up to the challenge of our three-point stance, brought to you by Toyota. This is year 5 as a starter for Jalen Hurts. And you think it could be his best year yet. That's our first stance, B.
See, I'm sitting here trying to,
You're trying to talk yourself out of it, aren't you?
I'm trying to sit here, keep my composure.
I'm scared about what's coming right now. I feel like there's a yell in our future.
And then you ask me that question.
Yep, here it is.
I keep telling people, this is an MVP year. I said it. I'm telling you this because at this point you can't just hold him to just one thing. He can hand the ball off to the best weapon in the NFL and then turn around and pass the ball to the best wide receiver tandem in the NFL with the best offensive line in the NFL. When I say all this stuff, what does that mean? MVP. I can't wait for the season to start up. And I don't say I told you so, but I did tell you about, Saquon Barkley wins the rushing title, we win the NFL, we won the Super Bowl. I said that. I'm saying this. Jalen Hurts will be MVP this year because he has so much talent around him. It's hard to deny him from what he's about to do.
Well, Dave, you notice it. He does seem, obviously very confident in his skin. He's always been that guy, but maybe a little bit more so given the fact that he's the reigning Super Bowl MVP.
Yeah, it's not like he ever lacked for confidence, right? But I think he has taken it to another level, and if not now, then when, right? He's coming off an MVP in the Super Bowl, and he played really well in those last 2 games in the playoffs. And, when that straitjacket got removed, as he put it, he did look good. And it was kind of that moment we've been waiting for all year. He had to play within the confines of what they were doing offensively last year, and it couldn't have been easy for him, right? Because it's like every quarterback wants to throw the football, especially when you have receivers like this. But it was very clear that the instructions to him were do not turn the football over, be efficient, and let our running attack do most of the work.
Absolutely.
And he did that. They won a lot of football games, but in the biggest moments of the season when he needed to come through, he did that. And that's kind of been what we've seen from Jalen Hurts since he's been here. He's now outplayed Patrick Mahomes in 2 different Super Bowls. So, yeah, he has that capability in him. I don't know if the numbers are going to be there for an MVP season, but he's probably going to be in the mix if this team is as good as we think it's going to be.
I mean, defensive coordinators are going to try to stop the run, period, just like they tried to do in the Super Bowl. So they're going to force him to go up there and beat him. And I just believe he has the right tools, the right weapons around him to do that.
How excited do you think he is just to start the season?
No,
prove everybody wrong, too.
I mean, he's been proving everybody wrong. This is just what he does. This is status quo for him. He understands everybody doubts him and are non-believers, even though he's entering his, 5th or 6th year in the league, and there's still people that doubt him. A Super Bowl champion, they still doubt him. Well, keep on doubting him, and he'll keep on proving them wrong.
Let's check out our next stance. The offense will return 10 of their 11 starters from last season, the Super Bowl season, but there are a handful of new faces, of course, on the defense, especially in the secondary. Our point number 2, and I'm going to start with you, Dave, on this one. New cornerback Adoree Jackson will be challenged early and often. I mean, I think that if you're looking at a place where they might be weak, you got to look at the other side of that corner.
Yeah, and it's funny because we're talking about a potential problem with this team, and we have to point out that their problems are not like a lot of the problems for a lot of the teams.
It's not third world
in
problems.
the NFL. Yeah. Exactly. These are kind of rich man problems.
It's not Browns problems.
You have Quinyon Mitchell, you have Cooper DeJean. So, yeah, naturally, the guy who lines up opposite Quinyon Mitchell is going to see a lot of the action, especially like in week 1. If he has George Pickens on him, that's a big size difference. And entering training camp, I don't think the Eagles expected Adoree Jackson to come out of this being their starter. I think they probably anticipated that Keely Ringo would be the guy to run away with that job, and it just didn't work out that way. And we'll see what happens with Adoree Jackson. I know Vic Fangio said there will be a long leash for whoever the starter is, but you have to think the two guys behind him right now are Jacorian Bennett, a late arrival, and Mac McWilliams, a rookie. So it's very possible that one of those two gets caught up behind the scenes, and if Adoree Jackson isn't playing well, at some point they would pull him out of the lineup.
I would think that helps for Adoree Jackson to know that he's not going to be pulled immediately if he gets in a little bit of trouble, especially the first week of the season. But he still has that hanging over his head, like there's other people that are trying to take your job. And
he understands that he's a veteran, so he knows there are people behind him that are trying to take his position. So he's going to go out there and try to play to the best of his ability. I believe this team, to have, that type of problem is probably one of the, least greatest problems, the other teams have to deal with. So I think Adoree Jackson will be fine going into this season, and then they have people behind them that can come in and fulfill that role.
It is a little different than last year, though. It's a real nice luxury to have Quinyon Mitchell on one side, Darius Slay on the other. Without that, it does change a little bit of how Vic Fangio has to call his team.
That's a really good point. It's something to watch, obviously, week in and week out. Well, throughout Nick Sirianni's tenure here in Philadelphia, his speeches are filled with sayings, drops of wisdom, horticulture, if you're interested in that kind of stuff. But his players, they always have something to take away. His latest is contribution over credit, and he was asked about that.
At the end of the day, it's the same thing of saying you can't be great without the greatness of others. Contribution over credit, because if we get the contributions from everybody that we talked about, their roles and what they need to do, and then their elevated roles if they need to step into an elevated role, good things will happen. And so that only happens though with your habits of are you getting better every single day.
All right. I mean, his players, they are always motivated, whatever his message is, and contribution over credit. It's basically a fancy way of saying there's no I in the team.
Absolutely. So, I mean, you got to be out there doing something if you want to get credit anyways. But the contributions what this team is all built on. They care less about, anything other than what's going on in that locker room. And the contribution that everybody's giving, everybody's looking at each other like, all right, I got your back, you got my back, and we're going out there and making it happen. I mean, that's all it is. They just want to play for each other, and you can tell where they react with each other and how they go out there and play.
He's really good at it, and he always comes up with these. And Saquon Barkley dropped one. He said that Nick Sirianni said at the beginning of OTAs, and he said, if you think you're the reason we won the Super Bowl last year, you're absolutely right. If you think you're the only reason we won the Super Bowl last year, you're exactly wrong. It's just another way to put it, but it sticks in his players' minds, and Saquon remembers that months later. It shows you that it's
They should write a book over his stuff, Jalen's stuff, you know what I mean? And,
little sayings.
Yeah,
the aphorisms of the Eagles. That's not bad.
I would take that. It's like a little daily calendar. You pick it off each day. All right, we got to check this out because we've got plenty more to come up as we check out the playbook brought to you by Supercuts. We get a visit from our Hall of Famer Ray Dittinger. He's in studio. He's going to share his wisdom ahead of the season opener. Kevin O'Toole has been an Eagles assistant now for 4 seasons. He is, though, currently the offensive coordinator. Is he ready for prime time? We'll discuss that. And speaking of prime time, it's a battle at wide receiver tomorrow night. Devontae Smith, George Pickens, who you got? This is Birds Huddle, presented by Toyota, the official automotive partner of the NFL.